It's Dina Doll and Melba Pearson on Legal AF, and we're talking about Trump's latest comment regarding air traffic control safety and racism. He was asked a pointed question about what is going on during the shutdown. We know lots of air traffic controllers are calling in sick. It's creating delays. Is it creating safety issues? A very valid question presented to the president. Trump, unfortunately, holding that office, but his response has nothing to do with that. Instead, he uses his typical racist answers. Take a look.
Are you concerned about the delays at airports, and how do you see the shutdown moving?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do. And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is. I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC talking about how if they want to negotiate, they can come to my office. She's not in that position to do that. And who the hell is she to say that? And then I watch Nancy Pelosi not knowing what to do. I watch.
Well, so here he's being asked a very important question, frankly. We all fly. We all need to fly. We all need the reliability and safety of flying. But instead of having an answer to that, he decides to just blame, of course, women, and of course, women of color. His favorite lately being Jasmine Crockett. I mean, Melba, just, what do you think? Here we have the president of the United States, and this is his go-to when he is faced with his extreme incompetence.
Listen, Dina, as I always say, Black women stay living rent-free in this man's head. Because every 2 seconds he wants to criticize whether it's, Vice President Kamala Harris, whether it's Jasmine Crockett, whether it's, an African-American female mayor, whatever the case may be, his default is to insult and be degrading. And because he doesn't have an answer to the question at hand, which is if air traffic controllers are calling out sick, what does this mean for safety? How can we address these delays? But, I'm just going to be blunt for a second. It is exhausting to be a Black woman in America right now. I'm not even going to front. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend, because it's like every day you wake up and, and this is again, highly personal to me, obvi, but also it's like you go to school, you get good grades, you get into school, you pay, exorbitant tuition. You're paying student loans for practically the rest of your life. You go, you get a job, you do all the respectable things. You pull your hair back in a bun. You wear the blue suit with pantyhose. You do all those things. And no matter what, you're still reduced to a racist trope. That you're ghetto, that you're low IQ, that the only reason why you succeed is because you took a spot from a white man. All of this foolishness is constantly in our discourse, right? I mean, some of these comments were not only made by the president, but made by other high-profile conservative leaders who people are actually, holding up as martyrs at this point, right? So it's sort of like, you can't win for losing, right? You do all the right things, you're lumped into that category. You do all the wrong things, you're still going to be lumped in that category, right? At the end of the day, we will always prevail. We will always survive because this country was built off the backs of Black women, all right? So we're not going anywhere. But I'm not going to lie, it is exhausting to hear this kind of foolishness coming from the highest office in the land.
And frankly, you are doing it well, Melba. And that's what he's threatened of. Because let's be frank here. If Jasmine Crockett was a bad speaker, was not good at getting her message through, was not good at critiquing him at his weakness, he wouldn't be pointing her out. He is threatened by her. He was threatened by Vice President Harris. He is threatened by AOC. That's why he attacks them. That's why he and Hegseth and Stephen Millers of the world have to create entire government policies to minimize and get rid of diversity because they are threatened by how good you are. So, we are calling that out here on Legal AF. He might be thinking he's having one up and deciding to bring them into the conversation that absolutely has nothing to do with it. I mean, even him saying, who is AOC to ask for negotiation? Well, she's a member of Congress. She has every right to ask for a negotiation. And the fact that he throws in Jasmine Crockett on her IQ, it's because he is threatened. And usually for his base, race baiting works. Right.
And
that's how we got started.
Thing. I mean, and it's hard because, folks are always like, oh, you should be able to have dialogue with people who are politically different than you. Of course, I've got no issue with that. But if your voting and your worldview is solely based on racism, we have nothing to discuss. You can't convert somebody who's racist. They have to decide on their own that, wait a minute, this is really dumb. I should open my mind. Let me get on Google. It's free. Let me look at Black history, right? Let me understand or talk to someone or ask questions. That is internal work that someone has to do. That is not something that anyone can enforce on you, right? So you think of Dr. King when he talked about, you can legislate, I'm paraphrasing, but basically you can legislate, hate prevention of hateful actions, but you can't legislate if somebody has hate in their heart. Nothing is going to change that. The only thing you can do is legislate if they act upon it. So, there's that. But coming back to the essential issue here, right? So our air traffic controllers, that is a vital, vital job because they're the ones who make sure that planes don't collide, planes don't crash, people don't get hurt, that sort of thing. They have been understaffed forever. Okay. So going into the shutdown, there was already a shortage. There was a huge retirement around COVID time when a whole generation of air traffic controllers retired and there was no one in the pipeline to replace them. So now you have the shutdown and they're like, oh, wait, we're already understaffed. We already have been working pillar to post ridiculous hours. And now you want me to do this unpaid? Guess what? I'm now sick. Right. So he is not taking responsibility for the shutdown that he helped basically design. He made everything, put everything in place and forced Democrats' hands to have to go to this route. Oh, and by the way, where are the Epstein files?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he's giddy. Trump is giddy when he talks about the shutdown. The Democrats are trying to save healthcare for Americans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene just tweeted out how she is on board with this because she wants to save the Obamacare tax credits that her, people's premiums are going to double. Some people's premiums are going to double. Obamacare we're talking about, not even Medicaid. But Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, who is extremely unqualified for this role, did come out and admit that people are reporting in sick more under this shutdown. And it is causing major delays because of the fact, like you said, people aren't they're not getting paid. They're not showing up to work, whether or not this is their own sort of protest, because we saw with Elon Musk and Doge, them offering incentives to get the most senior people to retire, which many of them took. And we heard all these promises about upgrading their technology. Who knows where that is? But what we're left with, as you said, starting with COVID, and then you have, Elon Musk and Doge having less people to begin with. And then now you have a shutdown where you're asking people to not come into work, and then you're giddy about it. And the workers see you being giddy about it. They see Johnson sending home, and not even being in session, taking pride and not negotiating. Well, how does that feel to a federal worker? I don't know. My dad was a federal worker and then a state, government worker his whole life. Federal workers are people too. They're not some sort of political activists. He seems to be treating them as such, but they're being frankly very disrespectful to federal workers for showing up. So who knows why they're calling in sick, but either way, what the rest of us is left with is a very dysfunctional air traffic control system. I mean, we've seen the spate of accidents since Trump came. He's gutted the investigative arm of the air traffic control system, which was one of the priorities of Elon Musk, because they were citing his his SpaceX and their launches. And so he wanted to get rid of the head, and he did. So, so it's a scary time for those of us who, pretty much all of us who frankly depend on the government to run air traffic control well. And that was an important question to ask the man in charge. And of course, he pivots instead to his usual racist tropes, which just further infirms how incompetent he is, how incompetent Sean Duffy is. Would it have been that hard to take some actual steps to reassure the American public that it is safe to fly right now? That's what you need with a leader in charge, not somebody who decides he's going to bring out his usual racist talking points to women who are doing their civic duty and frankly their jobs, and calling out and criticizing the person in charge.
And then that's the thing. Yeah, I was just going to say that in a true leader has that steady hand and is able to leave emotion to the side, focus on the issue at hand, and also reassure people that, hey, listen, we're going through a blip right now, but we're going to come out the other side of it. We're going to come out stronger. We're going to come out better. It's going to be okay. He's not in the business of being that comforter in chief. He could care less. He could care less about the American people. It's all about him. And one more thought, he also ended a program that required airlines to compensate you if you had ridiculous delays. And that was something we all relied on because, number one, the airlines knew if they had to pay out money, they're going to try a little harder to make sure that flights were on time, right? And also, too, if people are delayed, they don't make it to a cruise, they miss a funeral, they, whatever the case, they get stranded. Usually you compensate people for their trouble. Now that is no more. So again, it's just taking away all the systems that make life bearable in this country on so many levels, and that make sure that there's fairness and equity, and it's not corporations or people with money and means raining down upon those who, are under-resourced, or just normal people. So, it's disgusting. I just remind everybody, don't fall for the okie doke. Let's make sure we stay focused on the issues at hand. Where are the Epstein files? What is going on in terms of our healthcare, and who is actually fighting to preserve that, and what that means for all of us, for the American people, and just, again, staying focused and staying informed, which is what we do here at Legal AF, which is why you should subscribe.
Yes, I was going to free subscribe, hit the button if you haven't already so you can get more. Melba, it's so great talking to you. We've got lots of topics that we're going to be breaking down. So be part of that Legal AF community. If you haven't already, hit the button, stay tuned for the next time. So many unfortunate topics coming out of this administration, but we're keeping you on top of it all.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.